Hey everybody, welcome to Example of Play. This video is going to be the first in a series I'm calling a Let's Learn campaign for Distant Worlds 2. It's going to be sort of a hybrid between my usual tutorial style and a little more extended gameplay, because the way this game is paced and the scale it's at and how many complex systems there are that all come together, it's hard to capture it the way I normally teach games. And so I'm going to do it a little different. And it's gonna be called Let's Learn because I'm still learning the game as I go. But if you're like me, you love the concept, you want to get into the game, I'm gonna help ease you into it, teach you all the basic systems and how to play the game, and then we'll figure it out as we go, as we build up our space empire. So I hope you'll join me on this series. All right, so with that said, let's get right to it. We'll click Start a New Game. Now there are all kinds of options you can choose when you're generating your game, but we're going to try to keep it simple and straightforward. Galaxy shape. This is kind of like how the stars are distributed through the galaxy. There's different styles depending on what you might like, but we'll just go with classic, which is a nice mix. You got kind of an outer rim, a dense core, and then a couple spiraling arms of star systems in between. Number of stars, so this is basically just how many stars are in the game, how dense and big it's going to be. We'll leave it at 500. 300 feels a little too small, so we'll go up to 500. Nebula density, leave that at normal, and then a small galaxy. So we're gonna make a small game because we're just learning. Now, galaxy settings, there's a bunch of stuff here. You can actually start the game with like a fully built out empire that's like at high tech levels and just go from there. But we're learning, so we're gonna start at the beginning. So we're gonna do pre-warp so that we don't even have faster than light travel yet. This is you've got one planet and basically nothing start, and everyone can start equally. You can make it where there are other nations that start more developed, but we'll leave it alone for now. And then tech level, we'll leave pre-warp, so we're just starting out. We'll set galaxy aggression, normal, difficulty normal, all that stuff. The one thing I'll change up just for personal preference, you can set research visibility, so where you can or can't see the whole tech tree. I'm going to set it to only the next projects, and to make it a little more random research paths instead of fixed research paths. So this way you can't see the whole tech tree and you have to kind of go with what you get. That sounds fun to me, so we'll go with it. It shouldn't have too much bearing on our gameplay since we're just kind of learning the game as we go. We're not trying to play optimally or anything. And then next we'll go on to threats. We're going to leave everything here on normal. We'll have pirates stay dead. If we manage to knock out a pirate faction, they'll go away for good so that they don't just come back. But I did turn space creatures down to few, just because they can be really annoying if one pops up. So we'll make that maybe a little less likely for our game, at least until we're ready to deal with those. Colonization, just gonna leave that all on normal. Our race, so Distant Worlds has a lot of really cool races that have really detailed lore and backstory and traits and a lot of choices, but we're going to be boring. We're just going to go with human because for a learning game, they're your go-to. They don't have anything that they're bad at. They're just kind of generally good at most of the most common things you'll need to do, like research, diplomacy, and then each faction has a bunch of unique traits as far as like some different bonuses and perks and things, which you can read through those. But we won't worry about them for our starting game here. And then we will be the example of empire because I'm too lazy to think of something cooler. And you can pick what color or what your flag you want it to look like, so go with that. And then I like to play the Republic because, the Galactic Republic, I can do it better than they did in Star Wars. All right, so with all that, we'll go on to, one more screen here. So I'm playing the newest update, the control update. It added a couple options here where you can choose to start at a gas giant or a planet with a moon. I kind of like that just to match Earth. And then you can have where your home system has all the critical resources. So that way you don't start off handicapped because the solar system you're in is missing some resource that you need, and it delays you getting going until you've traveled to other systems and found it somewhere else. So if we click this when pre-warp start, that means we'll always have the stuff we need for our pre-warp starting game to build stuff that we need. So just to make the game a little smoother. And then we'll start everything pre-warp and a random starting location. So we'll see where we land in the galaxy. And then we'll let it just, generate 12 other random empires. We'll see who we meet out there. And leave victory conditions just on default. We're not worried about that. All right, so whenever you start the game, you will get this pop-up giving you just a little rundown of your civilization. This could be if you chose like a random start, you need to be told, hey, who are you? What are you doing? And a little message of where we're at, where we're going, who our leader is. So we'll say, let's get started. And we are in the Bunta system. We'll call it just Bunta system. We're on a nice little continental planet. It looks kind of like Earth. We've got a moon there next to us and an asteroid belt around us. So we should have some good resources to get started on construction. Now, I'm not going to try to explain every single thing in this video. I'm going to sort of just let the game play out, slow paced here at first, and just learn things as they come. Because if you're playing the game and learning it, you're probably going to get them in roughly the same sequence at the start of the game. And so we're just going to let it roll and cover sort of important stuff, but let you have freedom to play the game how you want to, and we'll learn it as things happen. Because if you look around the UI, there is a lot of stuff, and to try to explain it all at once is kind of overwhelming. It's going to be hard to absorb. So instead, we're just going to learn as we go. That's why it's kind of a let's learn campaign. So you can hold down the middle mouse button to move the camera around. And then if we hit tab, it frees up the camera, and we can also tilt it around like that. So you can check out stuff, because one of the big features of Distant Worlds 2 over the first game is that it's in 3D. And so if you zoom in, you can actually see we've got some ships here. This one looks like it's got a weird texture on it because it's still under construction. So it's not been built all the way yet. So that's actually like the scaffolding or whatever as they're building up the hull. If we zoom out with the mouse wheel, we can zoom out and out. And this is my favorite thing about Distant Worlds, is the scale of the game. We go from looking at our one little planet there with its individual asteroids around it to zooming out to the entire solar system we're in, where we can see there's several other planets. If we look at them, they say they're unexplored. Even though we've lived in this place for however many centuries, millennia, we haven't explored all the planets around us just yet, so we'll have to do that, but we'll get to that in a moment. If we keep zooming out, we see now just that whole system becomes one dot among many, and we see that we're kind of in between, so we're not quite in the galactic core, but we're on sort of the edge of the middle of the galaxy. So that's not a bad place to be. It means at least we got a lot of empty space in this direction where maybe we can push out and explore, but not have too many neighbors around us. If we zoom all the way out, we can see, so there's 500 stars in this system, and then you could crank it up where there's way more, but that'll be enough for our starting game. Now, looking around the screen, the UI, there's a bunch of buttons up here. We're not going to try to learn all of those all at once. We're going to just do them one at a time as they come up. If we look along the bottom, we don't have anything selected yet, but if we were to click on our planet there, it'll let me click on it. We would get a bunch of information. And again, not going to try to learn all that at once, but you kind of mouse over it and get some descriptions of things. But yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on. Here in the middle, this will kind of let you highlight stuff that's on your screen currently. So if you zoom out, the context of it kind of changes to all the planets in this system, and you zoom out further. Now you're just seeing that solar system as a whole right there, just where we have a colony at. So it's kind of context dependent what you see down there. And then in the bottom right, these are controls for the camera and different filters you can turn on. We're not going to worry about those right now. Just leave it on the default. The stuff at the top left is lots of information and things where you can do stuff, but we'll come to those one at a time, like I said. Along the top right, we have some very important stuff. This is what we're currently researching, which we'll look at the research screen in a minute. We have one colony with 2,000 million or 2 billion people on it. Our money, which cash is, there's The Distant Worlds has a very detailed resource system, logistics system where you got to go out and mine asteroids and gather individual different kinds of resources and move them around. And that's all super cool. But there's also just straight up cash that we got to worry about too. Our cash flow is showing negative right now, but once we start the game, that should change. And then the date. And then here's how we can either hit spacebar or click this button to unpause. The game runs in real time, but you can pause it, you can slow it down, speed it up. For this first video, at least for sure, we'll just let it kind of play at slow speed or normal speed and let things pop up as we learn. Then we can see our victory conditions. We're not worried about that. The menu, the Galactipedia, which is useful, kind of gives us some information about a lot of different game concepts. You can pop in there to learn. And then we can turn all that off with that button if we want to. Now, whenever you start, you might see a whole bunch of buttons here. So this is where you can set filters for which kind of messages pop up. There are some different settings there. You can also click them all on and off individually. We'll just leave it on default to start, but you can click here to hide all that so you don't see all that all the time. And then we see that we do have a message. The president has arrived. So there are characters in the game that are unique. They have, you can assign them missions. They have different skills or different types. There's like leaders, scientists, admirals, generals, spies. And so we'll see as they pop up, we'll deal with those. But we start with our president because he's our only character at the beginning. And he gives us a couple little bonuses, hopefully. Now we get a little blurb here, kind of setting the context. And in this game that we start off, we just have the one world, and we don't have faster than light travel yet. But if you read through all this, basically you find that there's people on your planet, past humans or whatever you may be, who have already reached the stars, but we've forgotten what happened in between. But we found something in some ruins that gave us a hint on how to research faster than light travel. So the early warp field experiments, and that's what we're researching. And then just by this little bonus, we've jumped to 50%. So we've made a bunch of progress on that. And we've learned about research labs, which we want to get those pretty soon too, because that'll let us research stuff faster. And the ruins give us some bonuses. So every different locations, planets, moons, and stuff can have different types of bonuses they give for the colony there. So we get a few little percentage bonuses, which yours might be different on that. So we close that. Now we get another message. We have our first starship under construction, the Dusty Scout. And so we can click here to go see it. So it's an exploration ship. It is built and ready to go. If we look around the planet, we'll see there's a couple other ships that are still under construction. So this is a construction ship that's under construction. Once it's finished, it'll be able to build stuff for us. And then a mining ship. Now, the interesting thing here, and one of the things about Distant Worlds, is that there are government military ships that you control, but there are also a ton of civilian ships that are private sector that are just going out there and doing their own thing that you don't control. You can't tell them what to do, but they are very much part of your empire because they are critical in the logistics of your empire of moving stuff around, moving people around eventually. We can see this one, if we zoom in, it's still under construction, so it's not done yet. But once it's built, it'll go out and start mining. And then we'll see that later, how we can influence mining in some ways, but also the private sector is going to do its own thing too. And then one thing to note is that the ones you control, the military ships, have a diamond or square around them, and the civilian ships have a circle. So that's you can tell kind of at a glance which is which. But the Dusty Scout, we will see that it's going to get a mission pretty soon because it's an exploration ship. We want it to go start exploring. And then we got another message here. Yeah, so we have a republic. And that gives us an insight into planetary governance, which is kind of a structure on the planet that's going to give us some bonuses. So if we look here, now that's popped up. Planetary Administration Center gives us a bunch of bonuses. So you'll just kind of get that automatically. So that's nice. All right, so now clicking through some of those things, the game started running. And but I've paused it here to visit a couple more concepts before we just start letting it go, because we will even though at the slowest, at the normal pace without anything crazy going on, we're still going to get a lot of stuff popping up for us to do. So I'm going to pause it so we can hit on a few things. One of the most important and cool concepts about Distant Worlds is that you can automate almost everything in the game. So you can just let the AI do it. Think of it as you're delegating responsibility out, letting your underlings take care of stuff, because you can almost kind of role play in this game as like you're the emperor, you're the leader, and so you're not worried about every little thing. But you can pick and choose things you're worried about, or you can play the game 100% manually, which would not recommend out the gate, or even beyond a certain scale in the game, because there's just so much stuff. But you can steer the game with the AI and kind of let it know what you want it to do, how you want to play the game. So I'm not going to explain all this stuff, but if you come up here, click in this first one, and then you come down here to policy settings, this is where you can control what the AI does. By default, you should be on default, or if you're not, you can come in here and open this first tab, and you can select right here, default, and there's that will set almost everything to the game to either automated or to where the game is going to give you suggestions. So that's what these little green boxes popping up here are your advisors suggesting things to you. And just so we just kind of cover all the bases here, if you look through this list, there's a bunch of stuff, but on the default settings, almost everything's automated. But yeah, there's exploration, colonization, diplomacy, the military, the troops versus the fleets, research, intelligence missions, all kinds of stuff. If you open this first one, advisors and automation, this is kind of the broad strokes of everything. And you'll see that there's a few, some things only have either the blue A for automate or yellow M for manual control, but some have then in between. And so the default for most of them is either automated or suggest. And when it's on suggest, the AI is going to give you suggestions of like, hey, you should build these things, but you don't have to. So these will pop up and it'll say, yeah, it thinks I should build a construction ship, an exploration ship. Probably a good idea. We could just click build ships and that'll automatically happen, or we can decline it and it'll go away. If we change it to suggest and execute, the same thing will happen, but if you don't act on whatever that suggestion is, the AI will go ahead and do it. So basically, you can still come in and accept it, or you can decline it. But if you don't decline it, then eventually the AI is just going to do it anyway, because it's what it recommends that you do. So you might want to turn that on for some things, but for our purposes, we'll leave it on the default where most of them are on suggest. And that way, you have some time to think about it and decide what you want to do. Or you could switch it over to fully automated for those things, and it's not even going to prompt you. It's just going to build those ships that it thinks you should build right away. And then if you do change stuff, it'll say like it'll change to custom here. And then if you decide, oh, actually, I didn't want to do that, you can go back to default. And you'll see there's other options here. You can turn everything off where you're manually controlling everything. You can do rule in absence where everything's fully automated, so the game won't ever even, it'll basically just play itself. You can pop in if you want to and take control of specific ships or things, but otherwise the game's just going to run without you. And then there's some focused areas, like you want to just do combat and the fleets to let the AI handle all the empire building, or like be the spy master, just control espionage and spies. You can do that, but we'll go with default. And then we'll look at over here. So it's wanting to build a couple ships. So a small construction ship, an exploration ship. That'll be great. Here at the beginning, we need to be building lots of stuff and doing lots of exploring. So we'll just hit build ships. Easy enough. And then also it's going to recommend we should build a small spaceport on our home planet, which is fairly expensive. It's 10,000 credits. We've got 18,000. But we should definitely build that, because that's going to be kind of a hub for ships coming and going. It can build ships, it can retrofit ships. You definitely want to build the spaceport, so we can do that. And we see a spaceport pops up here, but it's under construction. So one of the really cool things about this game is that when you build something, it doesn't just get built instantly. It doesn't just get built over time. it gets built by the resources actually being transported to where you're building it from where they are. So if we look at like our planet, we actually have a lot of resources here, of course, on hand, and you can go. Here's kind of one way to see. We have a lot of resources available to us, but they actually need to be transported to the construction site. So like right here, it's easy because it's right next to the planet. You'll see little shuttles start coming out to build it. But if we wanted to build, say, a spaceport or a mining station or something way over here, we would need one of your ships is going to need to actually transport the goods from somewhere like the planet or a spaceport, pick them up, and then bring them all the way over here and then do the actual construction. So I think that's like a really cool part of the game that makes it very interesting, that the logistics are actually playing out at that level of detail. But while we're on the topic of construction, let's say, what if we did want to build a few more ships? It had advised us on those two, but we wanted a few more. So there's different ways to do it, but we could just come here, since this is the only place we got right now. Is this our home planet, and you can click here, build new ship or base, and there's different ways, but this is one way. And you can see these are the things that you could build right now. So the game just started. There's not a whole lot of options. But we can build a research station, which we'll probably want pretty soon. We can build the EX1 Navigator class exploration ship. So there'll be different types of ships over time. As you research things, you'll unlock different. The game, the AI, will automatically put in new ship designs using the better and better components that you research. So like the EX1 will change the EX2 or 3, different things, different ship classes. But then in parentheses, it'll kind of tell you like, oh, well, plain words, like this is what this is. And then you can design your own ships too, but we definitely won't be getting to that anytime soon because it's very detailed. But we can build an exploration ship, we can build a construction ship, or an escort. So this would be a military ship that can fight. Since we don't have hardly any military technology research right now, we're not going to worry about that. There's no one else around. We have no neighbors yet. So we won't worry about that. But we'll queue up another exploration and construction ship. And then having done that, now it's disabled because we've spent all of our money. We do have a lot of money coming in though. So we'll be able to build some more stuff pretty soon. Now nothing's happening, so let's go ahead and resume. And so we get some stuff built. And then we can also go and see where is our first ship there. So the Dusty Scout. You can see here, this is kind of its stats. Ships do have fuel, which we'll worry about here in a little bit. But you can see like their strength. This one's got some missiles, so it can fight a little bit, but you're not going to have your exploration ship fighting or things are going bad. And then we can see here, this is like its health. So the ship doesn't have any armor or shields because we haven't researched those things yet. It just has hull strength 100%. And then we can see kind of the components it has within it. Right now, everything's good because it hasn't been damaged or anything. Now, down here, we can do some controls. One to notice is that it's automated right now. So it's not doing anything yet, but it has been assigned a mission. And that is it is doing something. It's surveying Bunta 2, our home planet. And so if you zoom in, you can see it's sending out little probes or away teams or whatever you want those to be to survey the planet. Because even though we live here, it's not fully surveyed. One way to check is if you zoom, you'll see this yellow circle, and that's telling you the level of survey that's been done. And so if we hover over this right here, it says exploration level 2. So there are some unknown things there. So we're scanning the planet to find what they are. Now we're at exploration level 3. So that'll go higher and higher. And that's basically what you're finding on that planet or moon or whatever it may be. How well you've surveyed it. And different places are going to have different levels that you need to get to find everything. And then we will look around. Oh yeah, we did get a message, didn't we, that we received a scientist. We'll pause. See, even on the normal pace here, we're getting a bunch of things. So if we go to, so if you do see like, oh, I got a new character, and then you need to come back to it, this little icon right here brings up our characters. We get a summary of what kinds we have, and then down here a list of exactly who they are, with the one distinction that spies are separate. They got their own list, and then there's also a list for prisoners if we were to capture an enemy character. But we see our president still there, and now we have this scientist, which I think we never looked at earlier. So our president, they're just ruling. They're not really going anywhere, doing anything. They're just hanging out here. But once we started the game, we found out that he does have some skills. So he's got plus 2% to hyperdrive research and a couple other bonuses. So every character is going to have some kind of bonuses. Some have negatives. So you'll need to kind of balance those out. The skills can get better over time. They might also have some traits. And then as they do missions and things, those might go up. But if we look at our scientist, we actually don't know anything about them yet because they haven't done anything yet. We must know that they're a good scientist, but they're untested. So once we get a research station built, then this scientist will have somewhere to go work, and we'll find out what they're good at. But we'll need to save up a little money before we can build our research station to get started on that. And close that out, and then later maybe we'll get a character that we can assign a mission to, so we see that. And then we see, as we were surveying the planet from space, that we discovered that it has a new resource there, the megalus nut. So this is going to be, some resources are construction things, so like steel, different types of metal. There's fuel, which we'll need for sure. That is called where is it at? Caslon. I knew I had it in my head. And that's like our primary fuel for basically everything. So we'll want to get that, but that comes from gas giants usually, which there is one in our system, but it's way over there. So we'll have to go check it out. There's one there too. And we'll collect that from there. But a lot of the resources are also like luxury resources. So they're ones like these that give some kind of bonus. They help a colony develop faster and give some kind of specific bonus. So those are useful to get as well. Now we'll resume play. Still got our stuff constructing. We found another resource. So Yaris marble. So that's plus 5% colony development. So another nice resource to have. Not really necessary to build or create things, but it helps your colonies grow better or get certain bonuses. There's a bunch of different ones. And while we're waiting here, we can look and see some of the more of this information. So of course you have the name of the place, you have what kind of planet it is, what quality it is. So this one's very suitable for humans because it's our home world. We can see what our development's at, what our happiness is at. It looks like we're happy right now. I think our taxes are too high, but and corruption is high. So that sounds about right, but we'll leave it alone for now. And then how much money we're making. And then, yeah, so there's corruption there. But we can't do much about that right at the moment. And then the population here, 100% humans on the planet. And then some resources, so how abundant some of these specific resources are on the planet, so how much we can get from that. The facilities, so all we have are the things we learned about at the beginning, the ruins and the Planetary Administration Center that just gives some bonuses. And then troops, we have our characters who are there, plus one brigade of strike troopers, but we won't be doing any ground combat for a while. And then we're building a bunch of ships. Once we get our spaceport built, it'll start doing that stuff a lot faster there. But right now at the planet, they're being built from the colony. If we go over this, this is probably getting a little too detailed for starters, but it's our resources and stock level. So it's what we have on hand. And then you can also set like a level you want to maintain at this location. So you can say like, I want to keep 20,000 Caslon at this because this is our home world. We want a bunch of fuel here. Right now we can't fix that because we don't have a source for it. But you could set this number here and the freighters out there would bring it to this location to stock it up. And then you can see that for a whole bunch of different resources. We got another message. So our construction ship was completed. So we could wait for it to give us a mission, and then we can also, this might be a good time to show you how to create a mission yourself. So we haven't surveyed anything just yet, but we can bet our moon over here probably has some resources on it. There's individual asteroids. Some of them might be totally barren. Some of them might have a lot of great resources. But we can bet, well, let's see. Yeah, we'll build a mining station just to show how to do it. Now, if you select a ship, it's automated, but you can give it orders still, and it'll carry out your orders, and then it'll be under your manual control, or you can change it back to automated. But to tell it to actually do something, right-clicking by itself doesn't do anything, but if you hold down control and then right-click, you can give it an order. And so if we want to build, which I guess I accidentally clicked it already, but we can hold down right-click on the moon, hold down control, right-click, and say build mine station, and then it'll give it the mission. It's going to go build a mine station, and you see this changes to M because it's now under manual control. So you'll want to be aware of that. If you're manually controlling it, it's not going to keep automatically doing stuff. Now, as we can see, it's not going over there just yet because it's loading up resources. So it's gathering from the planet all the resources it's going to need to build that mining station out there. And so we can see it's a pretty good variety of stuff. It's loading up in its cargo hold, and then it's heading for the moon to actually go build out there, which I think it's such a cool concept that, if all these resources weren't here, you wouldn't actually be able to build that or it'd have to go somewhere else, or it might have to go to multiple locations to pick up all the resources it needs to build that mining station. Now you can see that it's traveling very slowly because it's using just regular kind of propulsion. It's just cruising over there real slow. It's going to take minutes for it just to get from the home planet to the moon to even start that. And if we zoom out, it would take forever to go anywhere else in the solar system. And then if we zoom out, it would basically be impossible to go anywhere else in the galaxy. So what do we need to do about that? That brings us to research. All right, so research, this being a 4X game, research is extremely important. We can come up here to open up the tech tree. If we click there, we can see what we're researching, and then where we're at on it. If you hold down control and mouse wheel, you can zoom out and see the research tree. This is just all the first tier of stuff, and you can see there's a ton of options. We'll just kind of briefly look them over. So weapons, we haven't researched anything, so these are all our different types of ship weapons. So there's pulse beam, ion, area, torpedoes, tractor beams. Missiles have their own tech trees for missiles and kinetic weapons. We have researched missile weapons, kinetic weapons. These other ones we haven't yet. So there's going to be tons of weapon options. And of course, it might be you want to specialize in one thing or another, or some combination, or it might depend on what your enemy's got, what you want to do there. The troops so ground combat has its own huge variety of stuff that you can improve your troops, make them more effective. So if you're going to be real aggressive, be invading enemy planets, you're going to want good troops, or just to defend your own. There's all kinds of stuff there. And then as we go down, there's reactors, which are part of making our ships be able to use more energy. So basically, like the bigger, more advanced our ship is, we need a bigger reactor to power it. Energy deflectors is like shields. We'll come back to early warp field. That's our most important one to start with. We got regular engines. So this is for our ships maneuvering around in system. Then we got research like boarding ships, assault pods, if we want to board enemy ships. Armor plating. So you got like shields and armor are your two different types of primary defense. So you want, one or the other, probably a little bit of both. Construction covers a lot of stuff. So we start with a decent amount of these research to get us the basic civilian ships, basic space stations, that sort of thing. But we can go to the next tier and start building like bigger mining ships, colony ships, passenger ships, tankers, all kinds of stuff. And those are all civilian ones. And then there's like other types of space stations, and all kinds of stuff there. I'm not going to go through every single thing, but there's, basically you need to research a little bit of everything So mining, energy collection. We start getting into components for the ship, so like countermeasures, target tracking, sensors, so we can make our exploration ships better. If we research the higher tier of exploration, scanners or sensors, be able to see further out into space, detect things. Basic colonization is right here. That's going to be important if we want to actually go colonize another planet. And then other things, and a lot of these are different components for our ships. So to give our ships different functions, we'll need these different things. And then, yeah, down here at the bottom is like diplomacy, which we've already sort of researched that out for humans. But there's also some like command and control and things there, but we won't worry about that at the moment. So we're going to back up to early warp field experiments. So this is the one that we got from finding those ancient ruins, and we got 50% of it researched, but it's still taking a long time. So we look at it, it's going to take another 2.5 years to research this. What can we do to speed it up? We can do a crash project, which is the one thing that on the default controls, the AI won't do this. This is totally manual for the player to do, because basically you're going to throw a bunch of money at it to make this happen faster. And it's easy to do. We're just going to click on it, and it'll ask us, do you want to initiate crash research? We're going to spend a bunch of money to try to speed it up. And then we can't cancel it. Basically, like we're committing ourselves, like we got to get this done. We're not going to change till we get it done. But this is the most important research we need to start because it's going to make our ships go so much faster. So we'll say pay cost, which it's only almost 3,000 credits. That's nothing. And now we've jumped along, and now we've cut a year off of our timeline. So it's only going to be a little over a year to get that researched. So that's good. Now, what if we wanted to see what are we going to research next? We can let the AI suggest. It's going to suggest things. So it's thinking we should do energy deflectors next. So we have shields. Whenever you research something, you don't just pick like what's next. You do have to pay a cost. So whenever you look at it, you can see that there's a cost to initiate most of these. This one actually looks like it doesn't have one, or we've already paid the cost maybe. Well, either way, that one doesn't have one, but we are going to come down here. Not that. We're actually going to come down to research labs because we've already got a chunk of this done. It's 25% complete. And if we build this, it'll let us build better research labs on like our research stations and things to research faster. So I like to always do that first. If we click on it, it's going to ask, we got to pay initiation costs. So it's a few credits and some resources. You do want to be careful because some of these researches, actually the cost in like resources is pretty high. And if you haven't found steady sources of those, you might like use up your starting stockpile. So you want to be careful about that. But we're going to do this next just as an example because those aren't too exotic or anything. And then we see over here, it's get on the queue that research labs will be next. And then we could still queue up those if we wanted to just click there and it would pop them in. But we will leave that alone for now. And then go back and see, yeah, now we're at 62%. So we're much closer to getting the skip drive, which the skip drive will then let us travel around the solar system quite a bit faster, but still not leave our starting solar system. We're still kind of trapped here for now. All right, so with our research track set for a little while, let's go back and look and see how things are going with construction. And we see, oh, our spaceport, it's still 0%. No, it's not many progress yet. And why is that? That is because if we select the planet that's building it, we can see its build queue. It can only build one thing at a time. And so right now it is still working on a construction ship, which we'll resume there. So we see it's at 60%. And our spaceport going down the line, our spaceport is third in line. So we can click on it to get some options here where we can actually bump it up to the start. We can bump it left or right in the queue, and we could cancel it. But let's say we want to get that thing built, and we'll let the Radiant Scout get finished. We'll do that, bump it left. So now our spaceport is the next thing that'll be built. So that's kind of one of the reasons you want to get this spaceport built, because it can build ships itself. So then you'll be producing ships quite a bit faster with it working along with the planet, We can also see there's all these civilian ships being built, like these freighters, and that I didn't tell it to build those. The AI didn't ask me to build those. That's the private sector. It's just going to build those itself. But because we haven't built any space, our spaceport's not up. We don't have, construction docks really for the planet yet. Our construction is limited to one thing at a time. So part of the game is balancing what you control with what you don't. So like I mentioned earlier, so all right, so now that one's done. Now we can see our spaceport will start getting built. Very nice. So like with the freighters, the mining ships, for example, we'll see that the civilians are building their own mining ships, and those will go out to these asteroids and start mining them for whatever resources they have once we've surveyed them. But you don't have direct control over that. What you can directly control is you can build mining stations, and they'll mine all the resources in a certain area around them. It's not really big, so you got to kind of pick and choose where you want to build them. But that way you can focus, like if there's some asteroid here that has some resource that you really need, you can build a mining station there, and you can actually just queue it up, and one of your construction ships will come along and it'll get built. And that it's like you're not even necessarily spending the funds to build it. It's that you're saying like there's a license for the private sector to build a mining station at this location. It'll get built, and then it will start gathering up resources automatically. But then you can't necessarily control the movement of those resources. It'll be moved by freighters that are civilian controlled. So these private sector civilian freighters will come and pick the resources up and take them to where they're needed, which again, you don't directly control, but you can influence by things like setting the maintenance level. So like, I want a certain amount of resources held here. That will encourage those freighters to go and to bring that resource there. So it's kind of an interesting system where it's super detailed down to a very granular level of individual resources and how much is at each actual location on the map, not just in some abstract stockpile. But you do have some ways to control where it's focused. All right, so our spaceport's almost done. Oh, wait. Well, I sure thought it was almost done there. No, it's at 37%. I don't know what I was looking at. All right, so it's still being constructed. Now we are surveying the moon. So we have our exploration ship out there, and it's found some more hidden items. There's a bonus here, plus 18% construction research. Well, maybe we should pop in a research station out here to take advantage of that. And then also, it's got a resource, Aculon, which is one of our construction resources, I believe. So that moon, only has one resource there, but plenty of it. So that's good. And so we'll build that mining station there so we get a steady supply of that Aculon. And then, so just like I just mentioned about a research station, we should build one. And now the AI is saying, hey, you should build a research station out there to take advantage of this plus 18% construction research, which is certainly, we'll be doing a lot of constructing. So we'll do that. And then that research station will also just generate research, and it'll give in general with that bonus, and then it'll give our scientist a place to go where then he'll start doing some kind of giving a bonus, generating additional research. So we definitely, you want to get a spaceport and a research station built pretty quick to get all that stuff going. And then, so we found another new resource type here, just a little bit. But this asteroid has a little bit on it, and our exploration ship. So it's real easy for them to survey these asteroids because they're really small. And we can see, all these other ships, they're just waiting to be built. And once we get built, we'll have all kinds of stuff zooming around the system. Right now we have just, our one exploration ship going out and checking out asteroids one by one. And then we can see our mining stations under construction out there. Very nice. If we zoom in on this construction ship, even though it's called the Radiant Scout, it's actually a construction ship. It's on its way to build that research station. So we didn't have to directly tell it to do that. We just said, hey, I want a research station built here, and it's going to get built. Another way that you can build stuff, planets like that, is you could come here to select the planet, and here at the bottom, Right now you can't because we're already building them and we don't have enough money anyway. Or no, yeah, we're already building them here. So if you didn't have enough money, it'd be grayed out. But you could just click that. You would never even have to select a ship at all. You could just click, hey, I want a research station here, and then it'll queue it up and a ship will come along eventually and build it. But if you have a priority, like I got to get this done now, you could go find a construction ship and directly manually order it to do that. And then if we wanted to, if you hold down control, you can do control drag the mouse to get this little box to select something. We can turn that back to automated so that once it's done with that order I gave it, it'll start just picking up missions automatically and not be on manual control. If you click that though, you can see there's other options. So you can specify, hey, I only want you to build mining stations. I only want you to build research, or I only want you to do salvage. You can have some construction ships dedicated to those things if you want to. Okay, now our spaceport's almost done. All right, so our spaceport is constructed. It's a big orbital platform that's a shipyard. It will let us, it's a hub for trade and commerce. Freighters will come and drop off resources here. And then ships can come here to be retrofitted as we research things like our early warp field or our bubble drive, skip drive. The bubble drive's the next one. All right, so we'll kind of finish this video off with getting the skip drive researched and then seeing a ship travel very much faster for the first time, which is a fun early point in the game. All right, and then so our first, and you won't get these messages forever. It's just these are kind of the first time you build certain things, you get a message about it. So our first mining station's constructed, and it's gonna scoop up lots of resources, and then freighters will come and pick them up and take them where they need to go. And so we see, yeah, after that we get a whole bunch of suggestions. So yeah, it wants us to build another mining station at one of those asteroids that's got some stuff. And something useful here, it shows you, if you hover over these, like a red box, hey, there's production shortage, we're not producing enough of this that we need. So that's why it's suggesting it. And then these are oversupply, we have more than enough, but we'll need more eventually. So we'll say assign mission. And then that construction ship immediately says, all right, I'm picking up that mission to go do that. We got another new resource we found. So as our survey ships go around, they'll find all sorts of new resources. And if we hover over these asteroids, we can see what's on each one. We haven't found any with a big abundance of anything, but a variety of resources. If we select our mining station that's been built, we can see it's got a little circle around it. That's the area. Ooh, well, don't want to look at that here in a second. But that's the area that it's going to mine in. So it could mine like multiple of these little asteroids. But usually it's going to be just like the planet it's next to, or one or two small, big things, but potentially multiple little asteroids too. As we can see, its cargo area here, it's already picked up 735 Aculon. So it's got that, but it's here at the mining station. So it doesn't do me any good to build stuff somewhere else until a freighter comes and gets it and takes it somewhere. So that's why like the spaceports are nice, because that's a place you can have a central storage location of a lot of different resources, where if you needed to build something and this mining station was the only place Aculon was in the whole system, you know, a ship would have to come here just to get just that, versus it being at like the spaceport at the hub with a bunch of resources. So that's why, yeah, you're building out sort of a logistical network. It makes a lot of sense. And then you can see it does have a little bit of weapons, so it can defend itself a little bit, but not really. Now, this is exciting. We've researched hyperspace technology. So using the ancient stuff we found on our planet, we were able to develop the first hyperdrive. And now, without us even needing to do anything, because we've got it automated, we will see that our spaceport will automatically start retrofitting ships with that drive, which I was going to try to find. Yeah, so our scout here exploration ship, it's gonna go to retrofit. So the AI is automatically gonna prioritize. Yeah, scout ship, you need to stop everything you're doing and immediately go get retrofitted with the new faster than light drive, because that's going to make your survey mission way easier. And then when we look here, it suggests that we build some ships. We see now that our exploration ship is now the EX2 Traveler, and then the escort is now the Sovereign 2. And that's because new ship models have been developed using those new drives automatically. Now you can go in and manually do all that, but we're not going to mess with it for now. We'll say build, queue those up, and say, yeah, even one more. Because you will want a bunch of exploration ships at the beginning, because yeah, we have a lot of places to explore. Our one or two that we have has just been busy here at home for now, but now that they can go fast, we'll want to send them out to all the other planets. Some of the other planets have their own moons or asteroids, and so we'll want them going out as fast as possible. Now let's see, we just built a new exploration ship here. It'll pop out of the spaceport. It's going to see if it is one of the new model or not, just so we can see it travel really fast. Because as you've seen so far, all the ships are going around pretty slow, moseying about. Yeah, here comes, oh no, it's still an EX1, so it doesn't have the new drive. We'll have to wait a minute to get it. Let's see if we can bump this guy up. Okay, well, the next one is being built there, so. And that still is an EX1. We'll speed time up a little bit so that we get one of our new ships up and running. And this highlights, yeah, why you definitely want your spaceport, and probably eventually more spaceports and things, so you can build stuff faster and get things retrofitted faster. But here at the beginning of the game, we're limited in that we only have one place to build things. Yeah, you can see all your ships are coming in to get retrofitted automatically, because that is pretty important upgrade, getting it those faster drives. Now, while we're waiting, it's going to poke around and see what else can we learn about. Well, yeah, we'll go and explore those other planets. Okay, ooh, we got a spy. So let's check out our spy. Got a cool mask. He lives here, because he can't go anywhere else yet. But if we look on our spy screen now, we have a spy who can do lots of different missions. He automatically is assigned to do counterintelligence, even though there's not any foreign agents to worry about right now. But if we wanted to change his mission, we could come in here and select cancel mission, just to see all the different missions types that there are for your spy. Quite a few. So counterintelligence is kind of a safe place for them to practice and develop their skills a little bit and defend your nation or location. But you can also send them out to do all kinds of things like steal map data, steal research, destroy a base, assassinate somebody, incite a rebellion. Spies can do a lot of stuff, but a lot of these things are going to be dangerous. There's a chance that they could be captured or killed and not come back. So you start them with the counterintelligence, because that's going to be defensive and kind of build up their skill and is much safer than most of these other more active espionage actions. So we'll just have him set back to counterintelligence, and we don't have anyone to send him against anyway. We have this target empire field, but it's empty because we haven't met anybody yet. And so we'll just leave him on counterintelligence until canceled the assigned mission, but just wanted to show you how to do that if you wanted to. Now we've also got our first military ship constructed, the Firestorm of Bunta. That's a great name for our first ship. Now just one little escort class ship is not going to do us much good, but it feels nice to have a proper military ship out there in orbit. And they look pretty cool too. We see where it is. Might pop out of the spaceport here in a minute. Okay, now we have an EX2 traveler coming out here in a minute. And so we'll send them out into space so we can see how fast they're going. We'll probably end the video on that. We'll put it back on normal speed. They're leaving the construction yard, but I'll say I want you to go check out this gas giant because we're going to need that Caslon fuel. So you hold down control, right click, say survey. And I want them to go out there, and now they're jumping. So we've seen how slow they move just around our home planet. But once they jump into faster than light travel, we'll see the little icon moving real nice and fast. There we go. Oops, camera's jumping around on me. We'll see, all right, our little green dot there now is moving so fast compared to taking, a couple minutes to travel from the planet to the moon over there, is now zooming through space. But as impressive as that is, it's still taken, a good 20, 30 seconds for it to travel over to this next planet. And if we zoom out on the scale of our solar system, it would still take a while for them to travel around. If there was an emergency, it'd be like, well, we can be out here in a few minutes. And so we still need to research bigger, faster drives so that we can travel even faster. But it's pretty cool that first moment you get a faster than light ship and send it off somewhere super fast. And we'll see it arrives, pops in, and now it's here. And it can go survey this gas giant, which it could not. You could have tried to send it out here before, but it would have taken so long that you would have long researched the jump drives before it ever got there. All right, so this first video has probably gone on long enough. I'm going to pause here, and then we'll come back next time. I'm making this series almost just kind of for myself because I want to learn how to play this game really well, and this is kind of the best way for me to learn how to play, is just to kind of learn and teach it as I go and explain it. That's how I learn things the best. So it's almost kind of self-indulgent, but I'm going to make this series where I'm just play through the game, not all at once, because I'll probably spread this out with other videos in between. But if you enjoyed this, you want to learn Distant Worlds 2, hit subscribe, and you'll get all these videos. And then if not, hope you like the other stuff too. The other videos will keep on coming in between videos on this. And then once I've learned Distant Worlds 2, I'll probably play something else. I'm thinking about Shadow Empire is another one that I want to try to conquer kind of in this way of gradually playing and learning the game, because it's one that, again, if you try to learn it all at once, it's just too much. It's just impossible. So we'll go with the strategy of just play the game, let it flow out naturally in front of you, and learn it one piece at a time. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.